Imagine a world shrouded in mist, a land of swampy, fertile earth on the ancient Gulf Coast of Mexico, around 1600 BCE here. Among the winding rivers and lush jungles, something incredible was beginning to stir. Simple farmers, tied to the rhythm of the seasons, were becoming master builders. The first true villages in Mesoamerica were rising from the mud near a place we now call San Lorenzo. For thousands of years, their secrets lay buried. Then, in the 1930s, archaeologist Matthew Sterling hacked his way through the dense Veracruz jungle. He was following local rumors of giant stone idols. What he found would rewrite history: a colossal stone head staring out from the earth with an enigmatic expression. It weighed nearly 20 tons. Soon, another was found, and another. These weren't just statues, they were portraits of immense power. Who were these giants of stone? Were they kings, gods, warriors, or something more? The mystery of the Olmec had just begun to unfold. For a long time, the Olmec were seen as a primitive culture, a mysterious prelude to the great civilizations like the Maya and the Aztec. But as archaeologists dug deeper, a new picture emerged. This was no simple society. Using ground-penetrating radar and 3D modeling, we can now reconstruct ancient San Lorenzo. It wasn't just a village. It was a meticulously planned city. We see a central ridge, artificially raised, with palaces and plazas. A complex network of canals and drains, carved from basalt, crisscrossed the settlement, a feat of engineering unheard of for its time. From the riverbanks of Veracruz, a new world was born, one that would lay the foundation for all the great civilizations that followed. The Olmec weren't juicy engineers. They were artists of extraordinary skill and spiritual depth. Their world was alive with powerful forces, and they captured this vibrant cosmos in their art. Their most potent symbol, the jaguar. This apex predator, master of the day and the night, was seen as a creature of immense power, a being that could cross between the physical and spiritual realms. We see it everywhere in their art. Snarling jaguar mouths on human faces, were jaguar babies held in the arms of rulers. These weren't just monsters. They were symbols of shamanic transformation, the belief that powerful leaders could take on the spirit and strength of the jaguar itself. Their gods were carved from precious jade, their faces a mesmerizing blend of beast and human, symbols of the delicate balance between worlds. In the ceremonial heart of another great Olmec city, Venta, archaeologists unearthed stunning caches of these jade artifacts. Intricate masks, ceremonial axes, and figurines, all buried as offerings to the earth and the underworld. These weren't just beautiful objects. They were the very tools of their religion, conduits for communicating with the divine. The Olmec believed they could speak to the gods, that the cosmos responded to their rituals. Imagine a scene thousands of years ago, under a blanket of stars, high atop an earthen pyramid. Olmec priests adorned in jade and feathers perform a sacred rite. The air is thick with the scent of copal incense. Chanting echoes through the plaza as they engage in acts of ritual sacrifice. For the Olmec, blood was a sacred substance, a life force that could nourish the gods and maintain the order of the universe. This concept, this sacred pact between humans and the divine, sealed in blood, would echo down through the ages, becoming a central pillar of belief for the later Maya and Aztec cultures. The Olmec were truly the mother culture of Mesoamerica, but what happened to them? Around 400 BCE, their great cities, San Lorenzo and Venta, were systematically abandoned. Their monuments were defaced and intentionally buried. Why? Was it internal conflict? A civil war that tore their society apart? Or was it an external threat? Invaders who overwhelmed their heartland? Another compelling theory points to the environment. Climate change, shifting river courses, or volcanic eruptions could have choked their agricultural base, forcing them to disperse. The truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. The Olmec simply vanished, their story fading back into the jungle mists. Yet, they never truly disappeared. Their legacy is like a ghost that haunts the grand pyramids of the Maya and the temples of the Aztec. The Olmec were the first in Mesoamerica to develop a complex calendar, to play the sacred ball game, and perhaps even to invent a form of writing. Their reverence for jade, their pantheon of gods, led by a feathered serpent and a rain deity. The city-planning goal of these innovations were adopted and adapted by the civilizations that came after. Every time we look at a Mayan glyph or an Aztec temple, we are seeing the faint but undeniable echo of the Olmec today. Their colossal heads stand as silent witnesses to a lost world. Each face is unique, a portrait of a powerful individual who lived and ruled 3,000 years ago. They are not just stone, they are a direct connection to the dawn of civilization in the Americas. They challenge us with their silent, knowing gaze, reminding us that history is full of mysteries and that even the greatest empires can be swallowed by time. They are a testament to the ingenuity and spiritual depth of a people who, from the muddy riverbanks of ancient Mexico, carved a legacy in stone that would last in eternity. Here, in this lush, green cradle, the story of Mesoamerica's first great civilization begins. Out of the mud and reeds, simple farmers began to dream bigger. They became builders, architects of a new world. The first villages, humble yet ambitious, started to rise near a place we now call San Lorenzo. For centuries, their legacy lay buried, a secret kept by the earth itself. Then, in the 1930s, an archaeologist named Matthew Sterling was digging in the Veracruz. He and his team unearthed something astonishing, something that defied all expectations. A face of stone, colossal and powerful, staring out from the soil. It was a head carved from a single block of basalt, weighing nearly 20 tons. And it was just the first. More were found, each unique, each a masterpiece of engineering and artistry, some weighing up to 40 tons. The world was stunned. Who were these giants of stone? Were they portraits of mighty kings, depictions of powerful gods, or something more, something we had never imagined? The discovery of these colossal heads shattered the old ideas of a primitive past. As archaeologists dug deeper, a picture of a sophisticated society emerged. These weren't just scattered tribes. This was the Olmec civilization, the mother culture of Mesoamerica. Let's travel back in time to the heart of their world. Imagine the city of San Lorenzo, not as ruins, but as a thriving metropolis. 3D reconstructions based on modern archaeology show us a marvel of urban planning. An elevated plateau, artificially built up, served as the ceremonial center. An intricate network of canals and reservoirs provided fresh water and managed the seasonal floods, a testament to their advanced engineering. This was a society built on precision, foresight, and immense collective effort. From the riverbanks of Veracruz, a new world was born, one that would shape all the civilizations that followed. From the Maya to the Aztecs, the Olmec were not just builders, they were artists, astronomers, and traders. Their influence spread far and wide. They established extensive trade networks, exchanging goods like obsidian, a volcanic glass, prized for its sharp edge, and precious jade, which they considered more valuable than gold. This trade wasn't just about economics. It was about spreading ideas, technology, and culture across the region. Their unique, artistic style, characterized by those distinctive downturned mouths and powerful, feline features, can be found in artifacts hundreds of miles from their heartland. They developed a system of writing and a calendar, concepts that would be refined by later cultures, but originated here, in the swamps of the Gulf Coast. They were the pioneers, the innovators who laid the groundwork for thousands of years of Mesoamerican civilization. But to truly understand the Olmec, we must look beyond their cities and their trade. We must delve into their spiritual world, a universe populated by formidable gods and supernatural beings. Their religion was complex and deeply woven into the fabric of their daily lives. The most powerful figure in their pantheon was the war jaguar, a mesmerizing half-human, half-jaguar creature. This being represented the immense power of nature, the raw, untamed spirit of the jungle, and the shaman's ability to transform and journey between the physical and spiritual worlds. You see this figure everywhere in their art. On ceremonial axes, small carved figures, and massive stone thrones. They also revered the serpent. A feathered serpent god, a creature of both earth and sky, is a concept many associate with the later Aztec god. Quetzalcoatl or the Mayan Kukulkan, but its origins can be traced right back here to the Olmec. This remarkable continuity shows just how foundational their beliefs were. It's like finding the original source code for the spiritual software that would run Mesoamerica for the next 2 millennia. Their gods were carved from jade, their faces half beast, half divine, symbols of transformation between worlds. In the ceremonial center of Venta, which rose to prominence after San Lorenzo's decline, archaeologists discovered incredible caches of offerings, jade masks with serene, otherworldly expressions, and mosaics of serpentine figures laid out on the ground, only to be immediately buried. These weren't meant for human eyes. They were offerings to the gods of the underworld, a direct line of communication to the cosmos. Imagine a humid night in Venta, the stars blazing in a sky undimmed by modern lights. A great pyramid, one of the earliest in the Americas, looms in the darkness. At its base, priests clad in ceremonial attire gather. The air is thick with the scent of burning copal incense. The rhythmic beat of a drum echoes through the plaza. They are preparing for a ritual, a sacred duty to appease the gods and maintain the balance of the universe. For the Olmec, the spiritual and physical worlds were not separate. They were intertwined, and rituals were the bridges between them. They believed they could speak to the gods through sacrifice and blood. This wasn't about violence for its own sake. It was the ultimate offering, a way of feeding the deities who controlled the rain, the sun, and the fertility of the earth. Rulers and priests would perform auto-sacrifice, piercing their own bodies to offer their sacred blood, believing it contained a life force that could nourish the gods and ensure the survival of their people. So, what happened to the Olmec? Around 400 BCE, their great centers like Venta were abandoned. The colossal heads were toppled and systematically defaced. The reasons remain one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. Was it internal conflict? A series of rebellions against the ruling elite? Was it environmental change? Perhaps the rivers shifted their course, disrupting the agriculture that sustained their large populations. Or was it a combination of factors? A perfect storm that brought this vibrant civilization to an end? We may never know for sure. The Olmec vanished, but their legacy did not. It lived on, absorbed and transformed by the cultures that followed. The Olmec were the silent architects of Mesoamerica. Their innovations in art, religion, politics, and science echoed through the ages. The glyphs they carved were the seeds of Mayan writing. The calendars they kept were the foundation of later, more complex systems. The gods they worshipped were the ancestors of the great pantheons of the Maya and Aztecs. Those colossal stone heads, staring out from the past, are more than just portraits of rulers. They are monuments to a civilization that fundamentally shaped a hemisphere. They're a reminder that even the greatest empires can be swallowed by the jungle, but their ideas, their spirit, can endure forever. The Olmec may be the mother culture, but in many ways, they are still a mystery, a puzzle with missing pieces, waiting for the next discovery to reveal another of its secrets. Misty jungle and swampy riverbanks. The atmosphere is mysterious and ancient. Imagine a world shrouded in mist, a land of emerald jungles and winding rivers. We are on the Gulf Coast of Mexico. 4,000 years ago. This isn't just any swamp. It's a cradle of civilization. Here, in this fertile, mysterious landscape, something extraordinary is about to happen. Small groups of farmers, who have tilled this rich soil for generations, are beginning to look beyond their crops. They are becoming builders, dreamers, pioneers. Cut to visuals of archaeologists carefully brushing dirt from a massive stone face. In the late 1930s, deep within this jungle, archaeologist Matthew Sterling made a discovery that would rewrite history. Buried for millennia, a face of stone stared back at him. It was colossal, weighing more than a car, carved with a skill that seemed impossible for its time. This was just the first. More were found, scattered near a place we now call San Lorenzo, each one unique, each weighing up to 40 tons. Who were these giants of stone? Were they portraits of powerful kings, representations of revered gods, or something more? The mystery had just begun. transitioned to a stunning 3D reconstruction of the ancient city of San Lorenzo, show bustling activity, pyramids, and a complex network of canals and reservoirs. For a long time, the creators of these heads were a puzzle, but as we uncovered more, a picture emerged of a sophisticated society. These were the Olmec. And this, San Lorenzo, was one of the first true cities of Mesoamerica, flourishing around 1600 BCE. Forget any idea of a primitive people. The Olmec were master engineers. They built elaborate drainage systems, massive earthen mounds, and organized their city with a clear, deliberate plan. This wasn't just a village. It was a bustling metropolis, the heart of a civilization. Showcased close-ups of Olmec art had de figurines, intricate carvings, and the iconic war jaguar motif. Their genius wasn't limited to engineering. The Olmec were incredible artists. They carved delicate figures from precious jade, a material they traded for from hundreds of miles away. Their art is filled with powerful symbols, hinting at a complex religion centered around potent deities, like Te war jaguar par human, par predator. This tells us they weren't isolated. They had extensive trade networks, connecting them to peoples all across ancient Mexico, sharing goods, ideas, and culture. They were the center of their world. And with a dramatic slow-motion shot circling one of the colossal heads, its powerful expression filling the screen. From the riverbanks of Veracruz, a new world was born, one that would shape all the civilizations that followed. The Maya, the Teotihuacanos, the Aztecs, they all stand on the shoulders of these giants. The Olmec were the mother culture of Mesoamerica, and their story is one of innovation, power, and enduring mystery. They carved their legacy in stone, leaving us to wonder at the genius of this forgotten kingdom. What other secrets are buried in this jungle? To find out, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. The Olmecs weren't just riders. They were the original timekeepers of the Americas. They developed the first complex calendar systems in Mesoamerica, including T260-day sacred calendar and the 365-day solar calendar, which would later be adopted and refined by civilizations like the Maya and the Aztecs. This wasn't just about tracking seasons for agriculture. It was a profound philosophical and religious act. By measuring time, they were connecting their mortal existence to the cosmic order, weaving their lives into the grand cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. They understood that time was cyclical, that the universe was a place of repeating patterns, and they placed themselves at the center of that divine clockwork. They didn't just live in time, they sought to understand and master it. And then, around 400 BCE, the clock stopped. The great Olmec cities, which had thrived for centuries, began to fall. The decline wasn't sudden, but a slow, inexorable collapse. At Venta, monuments were ritually defaced and buried. At San Lorenzo, the population dwindled until the once mighty center was reclaimed by nature. Theories abound. Some archaeologists point to environmental catastrophe, devastating floods from changing river courses or volcanic eruptions that choke the sky with ash and ruin the soil. Others suggest internal conflict, social unrest, and rebellion against the ruling elite. Perhaps the very system that created their greatness also contained the seeds of its own destruction. But the most haunting part of the Olmec collapse is its silence. There's no definitive evidence of a massive war, no sign of a foreign conquest. They weren't wiped out by invaders. They just vanished. The people who had moved mountains and mapped the cosmos seemed to simply walk away from their cities and fade back into the jungle. It's a disappearance that echoes with an unnerving quiet. The jungles swallowed their temples, the rivers erased their roads, and their gods faded into legend. Their sophisticated world, their art, their knowledge, all but disappeared beneath a blanket of green. For centuries, they were a people without a name, a ghost haunting the foundations of later cultures. Today, as drones fly over the lush landscapes of Veracruz and Tabasco, we can see the faint outlines of their world still etched into the earth, the mounds that were once pyramids, the ridges that were once plazas. Archaeologists continue to dig, piecing together the story of this incredible culture. And what they've found is that Olmecs never truly disappeared. Their legacy was inherited, their calendar, their gods like the feathered serpent, their artistic styles, and their pyramid-building traditions were all passed down, becoming the cultural DNA for the great civilizations that followed. The Maya, the Zapotecs, the Aztecs stood on the shoulders of these Olmec giants. The Olmecs may have vanished, but their spirit, their ingenuity, and their cosmic vision laid the foundation for the entire Mesoamerican world. They are the silent, powerful source from which a continent of wonders flowed. Before the Maya built their great pyramids, before the Aztec Empire rose in glory and fell in blood, there was another people the first to shape the face of civilization in the Americas. They left behind no written history, no name carved in stone, only giant faces, staring across the ages proud, mysterious, eternal. Who carved these monuments? What gods did they serve? And how did they disappear, leaving behind only silence? This is the story of the Olmecs, the first great civilization of the Americas. Around 1600 BC, while empires rose and fell across the ancient world, a new society began to flourish in the tropical lowlands of south-central Mexico. We call them the Olmecs, a name given by the Aztecs centuries later, meaning the rubber people, a nod to the region's rubber trees. But what they called themselves remains one of history's great mysteries. From this humid, jungle-covered landscape, they would build a culture so powerful and innovative that its influence would echo through Mesoamerican history for thousands of years. They were the trailblazers, the pioneers who laid the groundwork for all who came after. The heart of the Olmec world was their great ceremonial centers, like San Lorenzo, Venta, and Trezepotes. These weren't just settlements, they were the nerve centers of a complex society. Here, the Olmecs organized massive labor projects, managed intricate trade networks, and performed sacred rituals that connected them to the cosmos. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of sophisticated water management systems, large public plazas, and monumental earth, including one of the earliest pyramids in Mesoamerica, massive clay cone at Venta, built to resemble a sacred mountain. This wasn't primitive living. This was a society with a vision, a hierarchy, and the power to mobilize thousands of people to reshape their world according to their beliefs. But what truly defines the Olmecs, what captures our imagination more than anything else, are the colossal heads, carved from single blocks of volcanic basalt, some weighing over 40 tons. These masterpieces of stone sculpture are unlike anything else in the ancient world. Each face is unique, with distinct features, full lips, broad noses, and powerful, serene expressions. They wear what appear to be helmets, suggesting they depict rulers or perhaps elite ball players who held a sacred status. Think about the sheer effort involved. The basalt was quarried from mountains over 100 miles away. How did they move these enormous stones through dense jungle and across rivers without wheels or draft animals? The logistics are mind-boggling and speak to an incredible level of social organization and engineering prowess. These weren't just statues. They were statements of power, portraits of kings who commanded immense respect and resources, their legacies immortalized in stone. The Olmecs weren't just master sculptors. They were profound thinkers and innovators. They developed a complex cosmology, a worldview that would become the foundation for later Mesoamerican religions. They worshipped a pantheon of gods that often blended human and animal features. Most famously, the were jaguar, a powerful supernatural being that may have represented a divine connection between humanity and the most feared predator in the jungle. This focus on shamanism, transformation, and the sacred power of nature became a central theme in Mesoamerican spirituality. We see echoes of Olmec deities, the gods of the Maya and the Aztecs. They were also pioneers in science and timekeeping. The Olmecs likely developed the long count calendar, a sophisticated system later perfected by the Maya, which allowed them to track vast cycles of time. And while we lack a full library of their texts, recently discovered artifacts like the Cascale block suggest they may have even created one of the earliest writing systems in the Americas. Like a great river feeding countless streams, Olmec culture flowed throughout Mesoamerica. Their influence is undeniable. The Maya, the Zapotecs, the Aztecs, all of these great civilizations carry Olmec roots, the ritual ball game, so central to Mesoamerican life. likely originated with the Olmec. The practice of pyramid building as a sacred act, the veneration of jade, the alignment of cities with cosmic patterns, all these traditions can be traced back to this foundational culture. They were the mother culture, the source from which so much of the region's later brilliance sprang. When we look at the sophisticated art of the Maya or the complex religion of the Aztecs, we are seeing the legacy of the Olmecs, nurtured and transformed over centuries. They set the template for what it meant to be a civilization in this part of the world. Then, around 400 BC, the silence begins. The great Olmec centers were abandoned. The monuments were systematically defaced and buried, as if in a final, solemn ritual. What happened? There are no records of a great war, no definitive evidence of a catastrophic plague or environmental collapse. Theories abound. Perhaps it was internal strife, a rebellion against the ruling elite. Maybe it was climate change, shifting river courses that disrupted their agriculture and trade routes. Or perhaps their society simply evolved, splintering into smaller successor cultures that carried the Olmec flame in new directions. The disappearance of the Olmecs is as mysterious as their emergence. They vanished from the main stage of history, leaving behind a profound quiet in the heart of the jungle. Their cities were swallowed by the earth, their legacy forgotten for nearly 2 millennia. It wasn't until the 19th century that a farmer stumbled upon the first colossal head, mistaking it for a giant iron kettle buried in his field. That discovery sparked a journey of rediscovery that continues to this day. Archaeologists, digging through layers of soil and time, have slowly pieced together the story of this lost world. AICHE, artifact from a tiny jade figurine to a massive stone altar, is a word in a story we are still learning to read. We are like detectives investigating a civilization that left behind magnificent clues, but no written confession. The colossal heads are our silent witnesses, their stoic expressions holding secrets we may never fully unlock. They are a testament to the fact that a people's greatness is not just measured by the empires they build, but by the ideas they set in motion. So what is the ultimate legacy of the Olmecs? It is a powerful reminder of human creativity, resilience, and our eternal search for meaning and identity. They prove that greatness can arise from the most unexpected of places. They show us that a culture's influence can outlive its own existence, shaping worlds long after its own has faded. The colossal heads are more than just archaeological wonders. They are a mirror reflecting our own humanity. They stare back at us across a gulf of 3,000 years, prompting us to ask fundamental questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? And what will we leave behind for the ages? The Olmec built in silence, ruled in mystery, and vanished without a trace. Yet through the jungle, their voices still echo carved in stone, waiting for us to listen. They are the beginning of the story, the first chapter in the epic of Mesoamerican civilization. A chapter that reminds us that even in the deepest silence, the past is never truly gone. It's just waiting to be discovered, deep within the lush, humid jungles of Mesoamerica. A mystery lies buried, a civilization that rose, flourished, and then vanished, leaving behind whispers in stone and echoes in the earth. This is the story of the Olmec, the mother culture of Mesoamerica, a people who laid the foundations for empires yet to come, and whose sudden disappearance continues to baffle historians and archaeologists. How did a society so advanced simply fade away? Join us as we journey back in time to unravel the secrets of the lost Olmec world. Imagine a landscape thousands of years ago, not of untamed wilderness, but of bustling cities. Archaeologists, hacking through dense jungle growth, have uncovered evidence of incredible urban planning. At sites like Venta and San Lorenzo, they found not just scattered huts, but a complex tapestry of society. Majestic pyramids, constructed from millions of cubic feet of earth, reached for the sky, serving as focal points for ceremony and power. These weren't random structures. They were aligned with astronomical precision. Vast, open plazas would have teemed with people for markets, rituals, and public gatherings. Connecting these centers were sophisticated causeways and roads, a testament to a society that understood how to command its environment. This was a civilization that designed its world with purpose and vision, long before the famous empires of the Maya or the Aztecs. One of the most mind-bending artifacts ever unearthed from an Olmec site is a small, polished hematite bar. Initially, it was just another curious object, but when examined closely, scientists discovered it was a compass needle, designed to float on a liquid like mercury and point to magnetic north. This discovery is staggering. It suggests the Olmecs may have been using magnetic compasses for orientation and city planning over 1,000 years before the technology was first documented in China. Think about that, a civilization in the Americas, without contact with the Old World, independently developing one of the most crucial navigational tools in human history. It forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the timeline of technological innovation. Were they using it to align their pyramids with the cosmos? To navigate the dense jungles and winding rivers? The possibilities are as exciting as they are mysterious. But their genius wasn't limited to grand-scale engineering. When you look at Olmec art, you see a level of craftsmanship that seems almost impossible for its time. They are most famous for the colossal heads, massive basalt sculptures weighing up to 50 tons, with incredibly detailed and individualistic facial features. The kicker. Basalt is an incredibly hard volcanic rock. The Olmec had no iron tools. They didn't have the wheel to transport these massive stones from quarries over 60 miles away. They didn't have pack animals like oxen or horses. So how did they do it? They carved perfection using tools of stone, wood, and jade. Without iron, without wheels, and without beasts of burden, they carved perfection. Their skill with jade is equally impressive. Jade is harder than steel, yet they carved intricate figures, masks, and ceremonial objects with delicate precision. This wasn't just art, it was a demonstration of technological mastery and a deep understanding of materials, a level of skill that was truly ahead of its time. Perhaps the most profound legacy the Olmecs left behind is the very concept of writing in the Americas, etched onto a stone block known as the Cascile block, and on various small artifacts like celts and figurines. Archaeologists have identified a series of distinct symbols and glyphs. Many scholars now believe this is the earliest known writing system in the New World. It's a script we are still struggling to decipher, a language lost to time, but its existence implies a highly organized society that needed to record history, track, tribute, document religious doctrine, or manage a complex economy. It opens up a tantalizing possibility. What if there were entire libraries of Olmec texts, written on perishable materials like bark, paper, or animal hides, similar to the codices of the later Maya and Aztecs? Are there lost stories, epic poems, and detailed histories of the Olmec world that have simply rotted away in the jungle humidity? Their knowledge gone forever? The thought is both thrilling and heartbreaking. The Olmecs' intellectual achievements extended beyond language. They were master timekeepers. They are credited with developing the first calendar systems in Mesoamerica, a concept that would become central to every major civilization that followed. This wasn't just about knowing when to plant and harvest. Their calendars, likely including a 260-day ritual calendar and a 360-day solar calendar, were deeply intertwined with their cosmology. They believed time was cyclical, a sacred rhythm that connected human existence to the movements of the stars and the will of the gods. This intricate system allowed them to schedule religious festivals, predict astronomical events, and place their society within a grand, cosmic order. They weren't just living on the land, they were living in concert with the universe, a worldview they passed down through generations. Then, around 400 BCE, something went wrong. After nearly a millennium of cultural dominance and innovation, the great Olmec centers began to decline. The vibrant plazas fell silent. Construction on the pyramids ceased. The population dwindled. What could have caused such a complete and total collapse? Archaeologists have proposed several theories. Environmental catastrophe is a strong contender. Evidence suggests periods of intense flooding from the rivers that were the lifeblood of their society. Volcanic eruptions in the region could have choked the skies with ash, ruining crops and making areas uninhabitable. Another theory points to internal conflict, perhaps social unrest. A rebellion of the common people against the ruling elite fractured their society from within. It is possible that the immense labor required to build the monuments and transport stone became too much to bear. Their world, once so ordered and powerful, began to collapse. But the true mystery of the Olmecs is not just their decline, but their disappearance. There's no evidence of a foreign invasion, no signs of a great war or conquest by a rival power. The cities were not violently overthrown. They were simply abandoned. It's as if the people just walked away, leaving their monuments and gods behind. One by one, the Olmec centers were reclaimed by the wilderness. The jungle swallowed their temples, the rivers erased their roads, and their gods faded into legend. For centuries, their history was erased, their existence known only through the objects that would later be treasured and reused by other cultures. They became a ghost, a phantom civilization whose name we didn't even know until the 20th century. Today, as drones fly over the Tuxtl Mountains and the coastal plains of Veracruz and Tabasco, we see a landscape that has largely returned to its wild state. But beneath the canopy, the ghosts of the Olmecs remain. Archaeologists continue their work, painstakingly uncovering the clues they left behind. And we are learning that, while the Olmec people may have vanished, their legacy did not. Their art styles, their religious beliefs, their calendar, and their political structures were inherited and adapted by the great civilizations that followed, like the Maya and the Aztecs. The word jaguar deity of the Olmecs echoes in the jaguar gods of later cultures. Their ball game, played with a rubber ball, became a Mesoamerican obsession. Their concept of kingship laid the groundwork for future empires. They were the spark that lit the flame of Mesoamerican civilization. The Olmecs remain one of history's great enigmas, a culture of immense sophistication that rose from the jungle, sculpted masterpieces from impossible materials, mapped the cosmos, and then disappeared into silence. Their story reminds us that even the mightiest civilizations can fall, and that history is full of questions we may never have the answers to. But in every stone head unearthed and every glyph deciphered, we get one step closer to understanding this incredible, lost world. Deep within the jungles of Mexico, where mist clings to the canopy and ancient secrets lie buried beneath layers of earth and time, a story unfolds. It's a story that predates the celebrated empires of the Americas. A tale whispered on the wind and carved in colossal stone, long before the Maya charted the stars. Before the Aztecs built their floating city, another civilization laid the very foundation of greatness in this land. They were the Olmec. Their true name is lost to history, swallowed by the same jungle that now guards their legacy. We call them the Olmec, a name given by later peoples, meaning the rubber people. But what they call themselves remains one of history's great unanswered questions. For centuries, their existence was a mere footnote, their magnificent art mistaken for the work of other cultures. It wasn't until the 1930s that archaeologists began to piece together the puzzle, uncovering a civilization far older and more influential than anyone had imagined. From the heartland of Veracruz and Tabasco, they emerged around 1600 BC, building the first cities in Mesoamerica. San Lorenzo, their earliest urban center, was an engineering marvel. Imagine 3,000 years ago, a people without metal tools or the wheel, moving multi-ton volcanic stones over 60 miles of swamps and rivers. They reshaped a massive plateau, creating a sacred space for their rituals and a testament to their power. Here, they carved the most enigmatic legacy: the colossal heads. These are not gods or monsters. They are portraits of rulers, powerful men with distinct features, each wearing a unique helmet-like headdress. Weighing up to 50 tons, these basalt giants stare out from the past with a silent, imposing authority. Their expressions are serene yet stern, their lips full, their gazes intense. Each face tells a story of leadership, lineage, and a connection to a world we can only glimpse. Archaeologists believe these were not just monuments, but sacred objects, vessels of the soul of the ruler they represented. To look upon one is to come face to face with the dawn of American civilization. But the Olmec were more than just master sculptors. They were innovators who set the stage for all who followed. They developed a complex religious system, worshipping deities that blended human and animal forms, most notably the powerful word jaguar, a symbol of rain, fertility, and earthly power. This divine concept would echo through later Mesoamerican pantheons, From the Mayan chalk to the Aztec tlaloc, they played a ritual bowl game, a sacred sport that was part political theater, part religious ceremony, a tradition that would last for millennia. They also laid the groundwork for writing and timekeeping. On artifacts like the Cascile block, we see symbols that may represent the oldest writing system in the Americas. Though we cannot yet decipher it, its existence proves their intellectual sophistication. They developed a calendar, aligning their lives with the cosmos, a practice that would be perfected by the Maya. The Olmec were the wellspring, the cultural DNA from which later Mesoamerican giants would evolve. Their influence spread through extensive trade networks, carting hard obsidian, and most importantly, their ideas across the land. Then, around 400 BC, the silence fell. Their great centers, like San Lorenzo and La Venta, were abandoned. Their magnificent monuments were ritually buried, as if to put their world to rest. Why did they vanish? Was it climate change, volcanic eruptions, internal conflict, or a societal shift we don't yet understand? The jungle reclaimed their cities, and for nearly 2,000 years, their memory faded into myth. The Olmec, built in silence, ruled in mystery, and vanished without a trace. Yet, their legacy is not gone. It lives on in the art of the Zapotec, the cosmology of the Maya, and the rituals of the Aztec. They are the ghost in the machine of Mesoamerican history, the invisible architects of a world. When we look at the ruins of Tigor, the sunstone of the Aztecs, we are seeing the echoes of Olmec ingenuity. Their colossal heads remain as silent witnesses to a forgotten greatness, a reminder of human creativity, resilience, and our eternal search for meaning. They challenge us to listen, to look beyond the surface, and to understand that history is not always written in books. Sometimes, it is carved in stone, waiting in the jungle for us to find it. The story of the Olmec is the story of a beginning, the first chapter in the epic of the Americas, a chapter whose final words are still waiting to be written. In the heart of Mexico's rainforests, a mystery sleeps beneath the earth, a story of a civilization that rose from the jungle floor, sculpted giants from stone, and then, without a trace, vanished into the mists of time. This is the enigma of the Olmecs, America's first, and perhaps most mysterious, civilization. Long before the Maya or the Aztecs built their empires, the Olmecs were laying the foundations of Mesoamerican culture. Between 1500 and 400 BCE, they flourished in the humid lowlands of the Gulf Coast, in places we now call San Lorenzo and Venta. But this was no primitive society. This was a civilization of profound genius and cosmic understanding. Imagine carving a 40-ton monument from a single block of volcanic basalt without metal tools, and transporting it over 60 miles of swamps and rivers. The Olmecs did it, not once, but 17 times. These colossal heads, with their powerful, individualistic features, are believed to be portraits of mighty rulers. They gaze at us across 3 millennia, their expressions a mix of serene power and untold secrets. How did they achieve such monumental feats of engineering? It's a question that baffles experts to this day. They were master artists, but their true power lay in their minds. Beneath layers of soil and jungle, modern archaeologists, armed with scanners and drones, have unearthed traces of Olmec brilliance. They've found buried pyramids, hidden tunnels, and something that rewrites history. Magnetic stones, carefully shaped and aligned to the stars. In one astounding discovery, a researcher watched as their compass needle spun, not towards magnetic north, but toward an Olmec artifact. It seems the Olmecs may have discovered and harnessed the power of magnetism over 2,000 years before the invention of the Chinese compass. They understood forces invisible to the naked eye. Their cities were not random collections of buildings. They were cosmic maps laid out on the earth. Every structure, every plaza, was meticulously aligned with the heavens, the rising of the planet Venus, the solstices, the sun's celestial path. They built their world in harmony with the universe, using time itself as their blueprint. They were astronomers, mathematicians, and architects of the sacred. Then, a discovery was made that sent shockwaves through the scientific world. On an ancient stone block, strange markings were found. This wasn't just decoration, this was the oldest writing ever discovered in the Americas. Known as the Casquiel block, its 62 intricate symbols predate even the famous Maya script by an estimated 900 years. These are the first written words of the New World. But who could write this language? What forgotten knowledge did it hold? The script remains undeciphered. A locked library of Olmec thought. Was this the birth of civilization, or the echo of an even older one we have yet to find? But every civilization has its rise and its fall. For nearly 1,000 years, the Olmecs ruled the jungles. But then, around 400 BCE, without warning, Taban, the great city of Venta, was abandoned. The once mighty centers of San Lorenzo and Tres Zapotes fell silent. When archaeologists excavated these lost cities, they found no signs of invasion, no battle scars upon the stones, only a profound silence and the slow decay of greatness. What happened to the Olmec world? Reconstructions imagine a great exodus, people leaving their homes, carrying their children and sacred idols, and melting back into the very jungle from which they emerged. Researchers today debate the cause. Some believe the rivers that nourished their farmlands betrayed them, flooding the fields, cutting off vital trade routes, and leading to social collapse. Others point to evidence of massive volcanic eruptions that would have choked the sky with ash, poisoning the land and water. Famine would have followed. Faith in the rulers and the gods would have been shaken. In our mind's eye, we can see the final days. Priests pleading to the sky gods as torches flicker under storm clouds. But the gods no longer answered. The people, their world collapsing, left their temples behind. They carried their myths, their symbols, and their memories into the unknown, their knowledge splintering and filtering down to the later cultures of Mesoamerica. The jungle buried their story, sealing their secrets beneath a tangle of roots and rivers. For 2 millennia, the Olmecs slept, a forgotten chapter in the human story, waiting for the world to remember them. Their legacy is not just in the stone heads or the lost language. It's in the questions they leave behind. Questions that remind us how much of our own history is still waiting to be discovered, hidden in plain sight. 1,000 years before the Aztecs, a mysterious civilization built a city larger than ancient Rome, aligned it with the stars, and then vanished without a trace. This is the story of Teotihuacan, the lost city of the gods. Welcome to a place shrouded in enigma, a city so ancient that when the Aztecs stumbled upon it, it was already a ruin. A ghost metropolis they believed was built by giants or gods. They named it Teotihuacan, the place where the gods were created. But who were the original architects? Who laid these colossal stones and aligned them with such cosmic precision? To this day, we still don't know. Stretching before us is the Avenue of the Dead, a 2.5-mile-long ceremonial road that forms the city's spine. It's flanked by monumental structures that defy belief. To our left, the Pyramid of the Sun, the third largest pyramid in the world, rising over 200 feet into the sky. It contains more than 1 million cubic meters of earth and stone, built without metal tools, wheeled transport, or beasts of burden. How? And more importantly, why? Archaeologists discovered that the pyramid is built over a natural cave, a tunnel system stretching over 300 feet towards its center. In Mesoamerican belief, caves were portals to the underworld, places of creation and origin. Was this entire pyramid built to sanctify a sacred cave, to mark the birthplace of the world itself? The builders left no written records, no keen lists, no carvings boasting of their conquests. All we have are these silent stone giants. At the end of the avenue stands the Pyramid of the Moon. From its summit, the layout of the city becomes clear. It's not just a random collection of buildings. It's a precise grid, a map of the cosmos etched onto the earth. The entire city is oriented 15.5 degrees east of true north. This isn't an accident. This specific alignment points to the rising position of the Pleiades star cluster on the day the sun passes directly overhead. They weren't just building a city, they were building a celestial clock, a place where time and space converged. But Teotihuacan holds darker secrets. Within the smaller, yet exquisitely decorated pyramid of the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl, archaeologists made a chilling discovery. Buried deep within its foundations were the remains of over 200 individuals, sacrificial victims. Their hands were tied behind their backs. Many wore necklaces made of human jaws. These weren't honored nobles. They were offerings, dedicated to sanctify the pyramid with their life force. Te, conquered warriors, or the city's own people, willingly given to the gods who supposedly walked these streets. The mystery deepens. For nearly 700 years, this was the heart of a vast empire, a bustling metropolis of over 100,000 people. Its influence stretched across Mesoamerica, from the jungles of Guatemala to the deserts of northern Mexico. Its art, its pottery, and its obsidian tools were the currency of a continent. Its iconic tablero architectural style was copied by cultures for centuries, a testament to its power and prestige. This was the New York or London of its time, the center of commerce, culture, and faith. And then, around 550 AD, it all came to a sudden, violent end. The central temples along the Avenue of the Dead were systematically burned. Idols were smashed, and the city was deliberately desecrated. Who did this? Was it an outside invasion? A catastrophic drought that led to a violent uprising from within? Did the people turn on their own gods, their own rulers, in a final, desperate act of rebellion? The evidence points to an internal fire, a city that consumed itself. After the flames died down, the people of Teotihuacan simply walked away, abandoning their cosmic city and disappearing from the pages of history. As archaeologists continue to explore, they are uncovering more of this lost world. Using ground-penetrating radar, they've found hidden tunnels beneath the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent. In 2003, a robotics team ventured into one of these sealed passages. What they found was a miniature landscape, a representation of the underworld. The tunnel floor was covered in sparkling pyrite powder to mimic the starry sky of the cosmos. At its end were pools of liquid mercury, symbolizing sacred lakes or rivers leading to the afterlife. It was a portal, a man-made underworld who would go to such lengths to recreate the cosmos beneath their city. What were they searching for? What power did they believe they could harness? The people of Teotihuacan remain faceless. Their language is unknown, and their name for this incredible city is lost to time. They are a ghost in history, a civilization defined only by the scale of their ambition and the depth of their mystery. Today, we walk these ancient avenues as tourists, marveling at the sheer scale of it all. We climb the pyramids and gaze out at a landscape that has swallowed an empire, but we are walking through the echoes of a lost dream, a dream of a city built for gods, aligned with the stars, and ultimately abandoned to time. They were not the Aztecs, nor the Maya. They were something older, something more They were the people who built the place where humanity believed they could touch the divine. The story of Teotihuacan is a profound reminder that even the greatest empires can fall, that even the most powerful cities can be reclaimed by the earth. It teaches us that some questions may never be answered, and some secrets may be kept forever. Tebaniset. But they left behind a puzzle in stone and stars, a silent challenge for us to solve. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of one of history's greatest mysteries. If you were captivated by the enigma of Teotihuacan, please like this video. Subscribe to our channel for more explorations into the lost worlds of the past, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an adventure. What do you think happened to the people of this incredible city? Let us know your theories in the comments below. 1,000 years before the Aztecs, a mysterious civilization built a city larger than ancient Rome, aligned it with the stars, and then vanished without a trace. This is the story of Teotihuacan, the lost city of the gods. Welcome to a place shrouded in enigma, a city so ancient that when the Aztecs stumbled upon it, it was already a ruin. A ghost metropolis they believed was built by giants or gods. They named it Teotihuacan, the place where the gods were created. But who were the original architects? Who laid these colossal stones and aligned them with such cosmic precision? To this day, we still don't know. Stretching before us is the Avenue of the Dead, a 2.5-mile-long ceremonial road that forms the city's spine. It's flanked by monumental structures that defy belief. To our left, the Pyramid of the Sun, the third largest pyramid in the world, rising over 200 feet into the sky. It contains more than 1 million cubic meters of earth and stone, built without metal tools, wheeled transport, or beasts of burden. How? And more importantly, why? Archaeologists discovered that the pyramid is built over a natural cave, a tunnel system stretching over 300 feet towards its center. In Mesoamerican belief, caves were portals to the underworld, places of creation and origin. Was this entire pyramid built to sanctify a sacred cave, to mark the birthplace of the world itself? The builders left no written records, no keen lists, no carvings boasting of their conquests. All we have are these silent stone giants. At the end of the avenue stands the Pyramid of the Moon. From its summit, the layout of the city becomes clear. It's not just a random collection of buildings. It's a precise grid, a map of the cosmos etched onto the Earth. The entire city is oriented 15.5 degrees east of true north. This isn't an accident. This specific alignment points to the rising position of the Pleiades star cluster on the day the sun passes directly overhead. They weren't just building a city, they were building a celestial clock, a place where time and space converged. But Teotihuacan holds darker secrets. Within the smaller, yet exquisitely decorated pyramid of the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl archaeologists made a chilling discovery. Buried deep within its foundations were the remains of over 200 individuals, sacrificial victims. Their hands were tied behind their backs. Many wore necklaces made of human jaws. These weren't honored nobles. They were offerings, dedicated to sanctify the pyramid with their life force. Te, conquered warriors, or the city's own people, willingly given to the gods who supposedly walked these streets. The mystery deepens. For nearly 700 years, this was the heart of a vast empire, a bustling metropolis of over 100,000 people. Its influence stretched across Mesoamerica, from the jungles of Guatemala to the deserts of northern Mexico. Its art, its pottery, and its obsidian tools were the currency of a continent. Its iconic talitablero architectural style was copied by cultures for centuries, a testament to its power and prestige. This was the New York or London of its time, the center of commerce, culture, and faith. And then, around 550 AD, it all came to a sudden, violent end. The central temples along the Avenue of the Dead were systematically burned. Idols were smashed, and the city was deliberately desecrated. Who did this? Was it an outside invasion? A catastrophic drought that led to a violent uprising from within? Did the people turn on their own gods, their own rulers, in a final, desperate act of rebellion? The evidence points to an internal fire, a city that consumed itself. After the flames died down, the people of Teotihuacan simply walked away, abandoning their cosmic city and disappearing from the pages of history. As archaeologists continue to explore, they are uncovering more of this lost world. Using ground-penetrating radar, they've found hidden tunnels beneath the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent. In 2003, a robotics team ventured into one of these sealed passages. What they found was a miniature landscape, a representation of the underworld. The tunnel floor was covered in sparkling pyrite powder to mimic the starry sky of the cosmos. At its end were pools of liquid mercury, symbolizing sacred lakes or rivers leading to the afterlife. It was a portal, a man-made underworld, who would go to such lengths to recreate the cosmos beneath their city. What were they searching for? What power did they believe they could harness? The people of Teotihuacan remain faceless. Their language is unknown, and their name for this incredible city is lost to time. They are a ghost in history, a civilization defined only by the scale of their ambition and the depth of their mystery. Today, we walk these ancient avenues as tourists, marveling at the sheer scale of it all. We climb the pyramids and gaze out at a landscape that has swallowed an empire, but we are walking through the echoes of a lost dream, a dream of a city built for gods, aligned with the stars, and ultimately abandoned to time. They were not the Aztecs, nor the Maya. They were something older, something more They were the people who built the place where humanity believed they could touch the divine. The story of Teotihuacan is a profound reminder that even the greatest empires can fall, that even the most powerful cities can be reclaimed by the earth, It teaches us that some questions may never be answered, and some secrets may be kept forever. Te Baniset. But they left behind a puzzle in stone and stars, a silent challenge for us to solve. Before the Maya, before the Aztecs, there was a civilization that appeared seemingly out of nowhere, carved giant faces in stone, and then vanished into history. These were the Olmecs, the first great civilization of the Americas, and their story is one of the world's most enduring archaeological mysteries. Woe were they? Where did they come from, and what secrets did their stone giants hold? Join us as we journey back in time to unravel the enigma of the Olmec. Our story begins around 1600 BCE, along the steamy, fertile coast of the Gulf of Mexico. In what is now modern-day Veracruz and Tabasco, a people emerged from the swamps. They were not just farmers, they were visionaries. From humble villages rose a powerful society, centered around bustling hubs like San Lorenzo. Imagine a time before great pyramids pierced the sky. A time when this landscape was untamed and mysterious. It was here that the Olmecs began to carve their legacy, not in small trinkets, but in colossal monuments that have baffled experts for centuries. In the 1930s, archaeologist Matthew Sterling was hacking his way through the dense jungle when he stumbled upon something extraordinary. Half buried in the earth was a gigantic stone head, its features carved with astonishing realism and weighing over 20 tons. It was unlike anything ever discovered in the Americas. Since then, 17 of these colossal heads have been found, each with a unique face, as if portraying a distinct individual. The largest weighs a staggering 40 tons. Who were these stone giants? Were they portraits of powerful rulers, revered warriors, or even gods? The sheer scale of this achievement is mind-boggling. These boulders were quarried from mountains over 100 miles away, dragged through treacherous swamps and jungle, and then carved with tools made only of stone. The effort required suggests these figures were of immense importance. They weren't just art. They were statements of power, authority, and a deep connection to their identity. The discovery of these heads shattered the long-held belief that the Olmec were a simple, primitive people. Far from it. As archaeologists dug deeper, a picture of a highly advanced and complex society emerged. 3D reconstructions of sites like San Lorenzo reveal sophisticated urban planning, with ceremonial platforms, residential areas, and an intricate system of canals and drainage. This wasn't a random collection of huts. It was a city meticulously designed and engineered. The Olmec were master traders, establishing networks that stretched for hundreds of miles. They traded valuable goods like obsidian, a volcanic glass used for sharp blades, and jade, a stone they prized above all others, even gold. This extensive network allowed them to spread their influence, their art, and their ideas across Mesoamerica. From the riverbanks of Veracruz, a new world was being born, one that would lay the foundation for all the great civilizations that followed. They were the true mother culture of the Americas. But perhaps the most captivating aspect of the Olmec world is their spiritual realm. Their art is filled with complex symbolism, a window into a universe populated by powerful deities and supernatural beings. Central to their beliefs was the word jaguar, a mysterious half-human, half-jaguar figure, often depicted as a crying infant. This being likely represented a creation myth, or a powerful nature spirit, embodying the raw power and ferocity of the jungle. We also see feathered serpents, a deity that would later become Quetzalcoatl to the Aztecs and Kukulkan to the Maya. This continuity is no coincidence. The Olmec spiritual blueprint was so profound that it was adopted and adapted by nearly every subsequent Mesoamerican culture. Their gods, carved from precious jade and stone, were not just statues, they were portals. Priests, who held immense power, would perform complex rituals to communicate with these deities. Imagine a scene under the stars, atop a great earthen mound at the heart of Venta, their later capital. Priests, adorned in elaborate costumes, engage in ceremonies involving hallucinogenic substances, music, and sacred offerings. They believed that they could traverse the veil between worlds, speaking directly to the gods through sacrifice and spiritual transformation. Their art wasn't just religious, it was a cosmic map. They developed one of the earliest forms of writing in the Americas, a system of glyphs we are only now beginning to decipher. They created a calendar, understanding the cycles of time with a remarkable precision. This knowledge of astronomy and mathematics was passed down through generations, becoming a cornerstone of Mayan and Aztec science. The Olmec were pioneers in every sense, in engineering, in trade, in art, and in thought. Yet, for all their achievements, their most profound mystery remains: their decline. Around 400 BCE, their great centers like Venta were systematically abandoned, but it wasn't a simple departure. Many of their magnificent monuments, including the colossal heads, were deliberately mutilated and buried. Was this an act of conquest by an unknown enemy, or was it an internal rebellion? A ritualistic killing of the monuments to mark the end of a dynasty or an era? We simply don't know. The Olmecs seem to have simply melted back into the jungle from which they came, leaving behind more questions than answers. So, where did the Olmecs come from? This question has fueled decades of debate and wild speculation. One of the most intriguing aspects is their physical representation. The features on the colossal heads, the broad noses, and full lips have led some to theorize that the Olmecs had African origins, perhaps from an ancient transatlantic voyage. However, there is currently no archaeological or DNA evidence to support this idea. The prevailing scientific view is that the Olmec were an indigenous American people, their features reflecting the diversity of populations that have inhabited the continent for millennia. Their culture appears to have developed locally, born from the unique environment of the Gulf Coast. They were not visitors from another land. They were innovators who harnessed the resources around them to build something entirely new. Their genius was homegrown, a testament to human creativity and resilience in the face of a challenging landscape. The legacy of the Olmecs is all around us, hidden in plain sight within the cultures that succeeded them. The ball game played with a rubber ball. That was an Olmec invention, the practice of building pyramids as sacred mountains. The Olmec did it first with their earthen mounds, the veneration of jade, the worship of the feathered serpent. The complex calendar systems, all of these cultural cornerstones, trace their roots back to this enigmatic mother culture. They were the trunk of the great Mesoamerican civilizational tree, from which the Maya, the Zapotec, the Teotihuacanos, and the Aztecs would all branch out. They didn't just vanish. Their knowledge and beliefs were absorbed and transformed, becoming the very DNA of ancient Mexico. They are the quiet ancestors, the architects of a world whose echoes can still be heard today. The story of the Olmec is a powerful reminder that history is not always a clear, linear path. It is full of mysteries, dead ends, and brilliant societies that rise and fall, leaving behind tantalizing clues. The stone heads of the Olmec are more than just archaeological artifacts. They are silent witnesses to a lost world. They challenge our understanding of the past and remind us how much we still have to learn. They are the faces of the first American kings, staring out at us across 3,000 years of history, their secrets still locked away in stone. What other wonders are still waiting to be unearthed from the jungles of Mexico? The quest to understand the Olmec is a quest to understand the very origins of civilization in the Americas. Our last episode, we uncovered the Olmec's astonishing understanding of magnetism and astronomy, culminating in the discovery of the Cascale block, the oldest writing in the Americas. But just as they reached their peak, this brilliant civilization vanished. Today, we ask the most haunting question of all. What happened to the Olmec? For nearly a millennium, the Olmec heartland pulsed with life. From Venta to San Lorenzo, their cities were centers of power, art, and ceremony. But around 400 BC, a sudden and profound silence fell over the jungle. The once thriving ceremonial centers were abandoned. The colossal heads, monuments to their mighty rulers, were systematically defaced and buried. It wasn't just a decline. It was a deliberate, almost ritualistic act of erasure. Why would a civilization bury its own legacy? Archaeologists have debated this for decades. One theory points to catastrophic environmental change. Perhaps the rivers that served as their lifelines shifted course, or volcanic eruptions blanketed their fields in ash, triggering famine and forcing a mass exodus. Imagine the desperation of a people whose gods, the very forces of nature they worshipped, had seemingly turned against them. Another more chilling theory suggests internal conflict. Were the defaced monuments a sign of a violent uprising? A revolution of common people against a ruling class of priests and kings? In this scenario, burying the heads wasn't just abandonment, it was a symbolic act of overthrowing the old gods and the old rulers. A final, defiant cry against a power structure that had failed them. The Olmecs didn't just disappear. They may have torn their own world apart from the inside. But there's a third possibility, one that speaks not of destruction, but of transformation. Some scholars believe the Olmecs didn't vanish at all. Instead, they dispersed, their people migrating across Mesoamerica, carrying their knowledge, beliefs, and traditions with them. They became the seeds from which other great civilizations would grow. It's a powerful idea. The end of the Olmecs was not an end at all, but the dawn of a new era. Regardless of the cause, be it nature's fury, human conflict, or a great migration, the Olmec heartland was left to the jungle. Their pyramids became green mounds. Their plazas turned to for over 2,000 years. Their memory faded, their name forgotten, their story swallowed by the earth. They became a ghost, a whisper in the deep history of the Americas, waiting to be read. And when they were, the world would learn that even a forgotten people can change the future. Though their cities crumbled and their name was lost to time, the legacy of the Olmecs endured, woven into the very fabric of Mesoamerican civilization. They were the mother culture, and their children were giants. Think of the Maya, with their sophisticated calendar and intricate writing system. It was the Olmecs who first conceived of the long count calendar, a way of marking time in vast, mythical arches. The Mayan reverence for the cosmos. Their city planning aligned with celestial events, or echoes of Olmec astronomy. Look to the great city of Teotihuacan, with its avenue of the dead and its towering pyramids. The feathered serpent god, known to the Aztecs as Quetzal, first appears in Olmec art, a powerful deity of creation and knowledge. The ritual ball game, a sacred and sometimes deadly sport played across Mesoamerica for centuries, originated in the Olmec heartland. The very rubber ball used in the game came from the Olmecs, the people of the rubber country. Their influence is everywhere, from the worship of the jaguar god to the practice of bloodletting rituals. The core tenets of Mesoamerican cosmology can be traced back to this foundational culture. They weren't just a single civilization. They were the source code, the cultural DNA from which the Maya, the Zapotecs, the Toltecs, and ultimately the Aztecs would draw inspiration. They laid the groundwork for everything that followed. The story of the Olmecs is a profound reminder that greatness is not always measured in enduring empires or towering monuments that defy time. Sometimes, true legacy is quieter. It's the idea that takes root in another's mind, the symbol that is passed down through generations, the knowledge that evolves and adapts, but never truly dies. The Olmecs may have vanished, but their spirit never left. It lived on in the art, science, and religion of every civilization that followed, a ghostly hand guiding the course of history. So, what have we learned on this journey? Beneath the jungle, we've learned that over 3,000 years ago, a people with no known precedent carved giant heads from volcanic stone, unlocked the secrets of magnetism, and mapped the heavens. They gave the New World its first written language, and created a spiritual and cultural blueprint that would shape a continent for millennia. They challenge our entire perception of the ancient world. The Olmecs show us that civilization doesn't always follow a neat, linear path from primitive to advanced. Here was a culture of incredible sophistication that emerged from the jungle, seemingly out of nowhere, and then vanished just as mysteriously, leaving behind a legacy that was both monumental and invisible. Their story is not just one of archaeology. It's a story about the resilience of ideas. It teaches us that a culture's true power lies not in its ability to conquer, but in its ability to inspire. The Olmecs may be gone, but their questions remain, carved in stone and buried in the earth. Who were they, really? Where did their incredible knowledge come from? And what other secrets still lie hidden, waiting for us beneath the jungle? The search for answers continues. Each new discovery brings us closer to understanding this incredible lost world, and closer to understanding ourselves, because in the story of the Olmecs, we see the enduring human drive to explore, to create, and to leave a mark on the world, even if that mark is destined to be forgotten and rediscovered. Over 3,000 years ago, in the steamy, life-filled lowlands of southern Mexico, a people emerged who would forever change the course of American history. These weren't just scattered tribes. They were the architects of a civilization that would lay the foundation for all that followed. Around 1600 BCE, along the fertile banks of the Coatzacoalcos River, the first major Olmec cities began to rise from the mud and reeds. Their great center, San Lorenzo, became a marvel of ancient engineering, a bustling hub of power and belief that commanded the surrounding landscape. They didn't just live on the land, they reshaped it to their will. Picture this: a complex network of canals and causeways crisscrossing the jungle, artificial ridges and mounds creating a tiered city, and towering pyramids reaching for the sky. They were master builders who terraformed their world, and most incredibly, they carved monumental sculptures from massive blocks of volcanic rock, stone that had to be quarried and transported from mountains over 60 miles away. This brings us to their most iconic legacy: the colossal heads. These aren't just generic statues. Each face is unique, a distinct portrait believed to depict powerful Olmec rulers, immortalized in stone. They wear protective helmets, as if ready for battle or a sacred ball game, and their eyes gaze forward with an expression of immense power and authority. Some of these heads weigh over 40 tons. Think about that for a moment. They were moved through dense, swampy jungle without the help of the wheel, and without beasts of burden like oxen or horses. The sheer manpower and ingenuity required is staggering. How did they achieve this monumental feat? It remains one of history's most profound and captivating mysteries. For centuries, these stone giants lay hidden, their story lost to time. Then, in 1938, everything changed. Archaeologist Matthew Sterling, guided by local accounts of a massive stone buried in the earth, made a discovery at a site called Tres Zapotes that would rewrite the story of the ancient Americas. As his team dug through the soil, a colossal stone face emerged from the ground. This was the first Olmec head to be formally excavated, and it was proof of a sophisticated, powerful civilization that predated the Maya and the Aztecs by a millennium. The discovery shattered the prevailing notion of what early American societies were capable of. They were not savages in the jungle, as some had dismissively imagined. They were innovators, artists, and architects of time itself. To understand the Olmecs, we have to look beyond their cities and enter their spiritual world. Their universe was a place alive with gods and spirits, a sacred landscape where the veil between the physical and divine was thin. They saw themselves as living on a bridge between the earth and the cosmos. Their art is a window into this belief system, filled with powerful imagery of transformation. We see figures that are part man, part beast, most famously the jaguar. Why the jaguar? In the Olmec world, the jaguar was the ultimate predator, fierce, powerful, and nocturnal. It moved between the worlds of day and night, land and water. It became their most sacred symbol, an avatar of shamanic power, a messenger of both life-giving, fertility, and the finality of death. This duality was central to their worldview. They believed life itself flowed from the underworld, a watery realm accessible through caves, rivers, and even the ritual act of bloodletting. The natural world wasn't just scenery, it was a living temple. As San Lorenzo's influence waned, a new capital rose from the swamps. Venta, built on a remote island, became the Olmec heartland for the next 500 years. It was an even more ambitious ceremonial center. Imagine pyramids towering over the jungle canopy, grand plazas illuminated by the flicker of torches, and the echoes of sacred ceremonies carrying through the humid night air. Here, the Olmecs took their ritual practices to an entirely new level. Deep beneath the plazas of Venta, archaeologists have unearthed one of the most astonishing finds in ancient America. Massive, intricate offerings, buried and hidden from view forever. Pavements made of hundreds of serpentine blocks were arranged in abstract jaguar mask patterns, then immediately covered with layers of clay. Caches of polished jade axes, obsidian mirrors, and figurines were buried in precise geometric formations. This wasn't art for display. This was a profound act of devotion, proof of a people obsessed with cosmic order, balance, and the movements of the stars. It was a direct offering to the earth and the gods below. But who were these gods they worshipped with such dedication? The true nature of their pantheon remains debated. Some scholars believe their deities were revered ancestors, the founding rulers of their dynasties, elevated to godlike status after death. The colossal heads, in this view, are portraits of these divine kings. Others propose they worshipped cosmic beings, powerful forces of nature personified as gods who governed the rain, the sun, and the growth of maize. The Olmecs seem to have believed that the world was born from a primordial chaos, and that only through constant ritual and the intervention of their rulers and gods could the delicate balance of the cosmos be maintained. Their world was one of constant negotiation with the divine. This awe-inspiring civilization, the mother culture of Mesoamerica, flourished for over 1,000 years before its mysterious decline around 400 BCE. The great cities of Venta and San Lorenzo were abandoned, and their monuments were systematically defaced and buried. Why did they vanish? Was it internal conflict, climate change, or a shift in trade routes? We don't have the final answer, but their legacy is undeniable. Their innovations from pyramid building and calendar systems to writing in a complex religion were passed down through the ages, influencing every great civilization that followed, from the Maya to the Aztecs. The Olmecs may have disappeared into the mists of time, but their spirit lives on in the very foundations of ancient American culture. Every civilization has its rise and its fall. For nearly 1,000 years, the Olmecs, the mother culture of Mesoamerica, ruled the lush, tropical lowlands of the Gulf Coast. From their grand ceremonial centers, they carved colossal stone heads with uncanny skill, developed sophisticated calendars, and laid the foundations for the great empires that would follow. But then, without warning, they vanished. Imagine standing here, in the heart of what was once a bustling metropolis. The air, thick with the scent of rain and earth, would have echoed with the sounds of life. The chatter of markets, the chants of priests, the cries of children. This was Venta, one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. Around 400 BCE, this vibrant hub was abandoned. The once mighty centers of San Lorenzo and Trezapotes also fell eerily quiet. What catastrophe could silence an entire civilization? What happened to the Olmec world? For decades, archaeologists and historians have sifted through the soil, searching for answers. What they've found is a puzzle as enigmatic as the Olmec's giant stone portraits. There are no signs of a devastating war, no shattered walls or battle scars upon the sacred stones. The evidence doesn't point to a foreign invasion or a bloody civil conflict. There is only a profound silence and the slow, inexorable decay wrought by time in the jungle. The people simply walked away from the homes and temples their ancestors had built over centuries. The question is, why? One compelling theory points to the very lifeblood of the Olmec civilization: the rivers. These powerful waterways, like the Coatzacoalcos River, were the arteries of their society, facilitating trade, travel, and agriculture. Their fertile floodplains allowed the Olmecs to thrive, to grow the maize that sustained their population. But what if this life-giving source turned against them? Geologists have uncovered evidence of significant environmental shifts around the time of the collapse. The rivers may have changed their course, or perhaps catastrophic. Prolonged flooding inundated the fields, destroying crops year after year. Cut off from their food supply and their vital trade routes, the social fabric of Olmec society would have begun to unravel. Starvation is a powerful motivator to abandon one's home. Another possibility lies in the fiery mountains that loom over the region. The volcanic peaks of the Tuxtula Mountains were a source of reverence and power for the Olmec. The basalt stone, for their colossal heads, was quarried from these slopes. But these volcanoes were also a source of immense danger. A major eruption, or a series of them, could have choked the sky with ash, blotting out the sun, poisoning the water, and blanketing the fields in a sterile layer of gray dust. Imagine the terror. The sun disappears, the air becomes difficult to breathe, and the very earth that feeds you is rendered barren. Famine would have inevitably followed. In a world where religion and daily life were deeply intertwined, Such natural disasters would have been seen as more than just environmental crises. They would have been interpreted as a sign of divine wrath, a message that the gods were profoundly displeased. The Olmec rulers, who acted as intermediaries between the people and the supernatural realm, would have seen their authority crumble. Their rituals, their sacrifices, their pleas to the heavens all would have seemed futile. When the gods no longer answer, faith is shaken to its core. The cosmic order, the very foundation of their worldview, would have collapsed. We can almost picture the final days. Priests in elaborate jaguar pelt regalia, their faces painted with sacred symbols, pleading with the gods atop the Great Pyramid as storm clouds gather. The flicker of torches casts long, dancing shadows against the stone monuments. But the rains don't stop. The ash continues to fall, and the fields remain barren. A crisis of faith can be as devastating as any war. It can persuade a people that their land is cursed, that the only hope for survival is to leave everything behind and seek a new beginning elsewhere. And so, they left, not in a single, panicked exodus, but likely over decades. Family by family, village by village, they would have packed what little they could carry. Precious jade ornaments, ceramic vessels, and the heavy burden of their beliefs. They carried their children, their idols, and their memories, disappearing into the dense, unforgiving rainforest. They took their myths, their symbols, and their knowledge of the cosmos with them, scattering into the unknown, their cultural DNA destined to be absorbed and transformed by the peoples they encountered. Like the Maya and the For over 2,000 years, the jungle reclaimed what was hers. Thick vines crawled over the serene faces of the stone heads. Tree roots buckled the floors of abandoned plazas, and a blanket of green buried their story. The Olmecs became a whisper, a myth, a ghost civilization sleeping beneath the earth, waiting for the world to find them and remember their name again. Their disappearance is not just an archaeological mystery. It's a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between humanity, nature, and the intangible power of belief. Their silent cities challenge us to listen closely, to hear the story they still have to tell. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into history's greatest mysteries. We'll see you next time.